This is the beautiful Ponte Vecchio, the Old Bridge in Florence, Italy. This is our symbolic bridge to everywhere. The Ponte Vecchio is uniquely designed for walking, benches to rest, think and refresh, shops to get wisdom. Perfect for the spiritual connection to everywhere. In this course, each bench is referred to as a module. This course is a journey, and it begins with a mental picture of a bridge. A bridge, a structure built to connect two otherwise separated entities, to span a physical obstacle such as a body of water, valley, road, or rail. A bridge takes you over that which is beneath you. It provides passage over the obstacle, which is usually something that is otherwise difficult or impossible to cross. The bridge to everywhere is symbolic of higher consciousness. Greetings and welcome to the excerpt of the course, The Bridge to Everywhere. This is the first in the Bridge series, using the architectural structure of a bridge as a symbol of connection. The purpose of a bridge is to make connections, to get you to the other side, and to be a structure by which you can go back and forth as necessary. Each bridge is a video course with downloadable handouts. The workbook will also be available to download. The Bridge to Everywhere is number 1 in the series and is being offered in fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Spiritual Studies. Course 1, The Bridge to Everywhere, uses the Christ mind, Christ consciousness, as an impetus for this course. The question was, why did Jesus not use the steps of affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, practical prayer, when he performed miracles? The response that came back was, he didn't need to. He lived in the constant awareness of recognition and unity. He could go directly to realization. The bridge is then constructed to facilitate crossing to anywhere and everywhere in life. The Bridge to Everywhere, is one that will connect you to, broadly speaking, anywhere and everywhere, to the state of being, the state of consciousness that brings good health, prosperity, success, as you define it, a job or career, the place in life you deserve, that personal relationship that fits just right for you, friendship, and everything else you can think of. As you cross the bridge to everywhere, you'll notice that some modules, called benches, reflect elements of prayer. By whatever name you choose to call prayer, whether you're a practitioner of New Thought or traditional Christianity, you'll find the principles familiar. If you embrace them, you will find them extraordinarily powerful and effective. The bridge to everywhere isn't magic in that you cross it once and life is perfect on the other side. On the contrary, life is a journey, and you'll want to sit on the benches of this bridge many times. You will also go back and forth. The Bridge to Everywhere offers fundamental principles, concrete insights, practical application to every journey, to any destination. During my journey of seeking my spiritual comfort zone, I asked one of my teachers the question that I mentioned earlier. When Jesus prayed, why did he not use the standard 5 points of a spiritual mind treatment, practical prayer, or affirmative prayer, as mentioned by whatever name you choose? Why did Jesus omit step 1, recognition, and step 2, unification? Again, the answer I received was, he didn't need to, because he had attained the level of consciousness wherein he lived in the knowledge of who God was and his total oneness or unity with God. This high level of consciousness was the Christ in Jesus. The Christ mind, available to everyone. That continued to echo in my thoughts. While I understood the concept, I could also see the difficulty in understanding the complexity and intricacy of the dynamics around it. They stayed with me. The teacher in me continued to want to break up the pieces into smaller and smaller pieces. That's how the Bridge series was born. It provides passageway connecting one place to another. The Ponte Vecchio was chosen because it has benches to sit and rest and places to pick up things necessary to make the trip more fruitful and pleasant. Throughout, I will refer to God mostly as God so as to not confuse the students. I will occasionally use spirit, it, source, first cause, the thing, infinite intelligence, and the Bridge to Everywhere attempts to shed light on that question. Christians are to be followers of Jesus and to be Christ-like. There's one unspoken question. How can one be Christ-like or like Christ without knowledge of what Christ was like in the wholeness of who it was? Jesus is piously introduced in his bio using the total nebulous description of fully God and fully human. However, contingent upon one's avatar of God, Jesus in fully God mode could be a dangerous character. The God of the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament God, is a jealous, judgmental deity with anger management issues. Is this the God in Jesus? What about the 100% human side of Jesus? Jesus, the man. How can we be like someone whose appearance on the historical stage was comparatively brief and having demonstrated a few mind-boggling acts? Proverbs 22:28 says, not to remove the ancient landmarks which your fathers have set. Landmarks set as places of memory, stories that chart the course of travel, serving as hope for the future in the memories of victories of the past. Stories written in other ancient wisdom literature and in the later sacred texts, serving as hope for the traveler. Can the simple human with feet on the ground be like someone whose humanity was portrayed only in part and whose deity one to be feared? Where does the traveler find restful trust for the journey? Where does one enter into the true meaning and purposeful journey of life, given only the faulty compass of faith and ill-defined and missing landmarks? The Bridge offers modules laid out in a pattern that equips one for the crossing from start to finish. Bearing in mind, one can go back and forth at will. Each module can stand alone, offering independent value, yet as a collection presents the Bridge to Everywhere. In section 1, the go-to section, module 1, or the bench, includes a survey of the Christ mind and Christ consciousness. Module 2, or the second bench, surveys theosophical theisms, doctrines concerning the nature of a monolithic God and God's relationship to the universe. The module offers a cursory overview of a few of the most commonly known theisms to give the student an idea of the different perspectives of God. At the end of this module, the student is asked to create their avatar God. Section 2, I have an app for that. Module 3, or the third bench, surveys practical prayer. With that, let's move on.
Every trip begins with a purpose.
A reason for making the trip, whether it's a trip to the mall, a drive across the country, a vacation in another country, or a stroll along a walking trail in the park. You have a reason for making the trip. There's something you want: fun, sightseeing, or a peaceful time apart just to breathe. You've got an end game in mind. The more clear you are about the purpose of the trip, where you're going, and your expectations once you get there, the better your chances are that you'll get there. One of my mentors in the realm of the Ascended Masters, Neville Goddard, says, imagine the end from the beginning. Imagine it clearly and precisely. I did a talk a while ago on what do you want? Take a listen. Then we'll come back with some questions to get your thinking started.
If you don't know what you want, you have absolutely zero chance of getting it. Here we go. Everybody wants something. Everybody. A better job, a career, relationship, family, money, better homes, cars. I mean, you name it, we want something. Don't let anybody tell you that it is being selfish to want, because you can want, and we should want, things that will make our lives better, as well as making the lives better of those around us. So if our wants don't include the betterment of others concerned, now that may be a bit selfish. But as long as that want includes you and others as well, I think you're on pretty safe territory. Matter of fact, if we don't want anything, if we don't desire anything, then life is pretty boring. A desire is nothing but a desire. A want is nothing but a want. If you put some selfishness in it, if you put some lust in it, if you put something that is inappropriate and wrap that around it, okay, you got something different. But a simple desire, a simple want, is just a motivating thing. It keeps us wanting actually to do better, to be better, to move ourselves to the next best level so that we can be our best self. So let's kind of let that go, that we're not supposed to have what we want. This is about why we don't get what we want. The reason, number one reason that we don't get what we want is because we don't know what we want. The second reason we don't get what we want is because we don't know what we want. Guess what the third reason is? We don't get what we want because we don't know what we want. So for example, a person may be in need of a car, or they want a car. So you ask them what kind of car they want. And they may say, well, I just want something just to get me around. You don't need to pray for something to just get around. I mean, you can go somewhere, you can get somebody to sell you something anywhere just to get around. Most of us want something a little better than getting around. And so you may really, in your heart of hearts, you really, really, really want this Mercedes. I can't remember. Oh, drop top. That you used to call them convertible tops, but they had this really slick term my husband uses, a drop top. So you really want this drop top Mercedes, but you don't want to say it because it may be immodest, or you may feel like it's too much. I shouldn't ask for that. I'll just take a little something, just whatever. No, listen. If you live your life taking a little something and just asking for a little something, then a little something is all you're gonna get. We don't get what we want because, number one, we don't know what we want, or we're not honest about what we want. But now let's rewind back to not knowing what we want. What do you want? When we were children And you ask little kids now, even though little kids now, I think they come here like really old. But you ask them what they want, they know. A lot of them know what they want to be when they grow up. Now it gets messed up and tainted and they get discouraged as they get older. But the point is, without all the baggage, without all the stuff that we lay on people as they get older, and sometimes it is hindered by things that have been laid on you by other people or fears of your own. That excitement that you had as a child about being this, or going somewhere, it kind of fizzled out. So you fizzle out into the regular. And regular is good sometimes, but you don't want your dreams to die away. So what is it that you want when you're 20 and 20, 30 years old? People kind of don't know what they want because they're discovering that there's a bigger world than they knew. When you're a child, of course, your world is what's right around you, and the world revolves around you. But by the time you get, in your teens and 20s, you understand that the world doesn't revolve around you, and you've got to find your place in it. So finding yourself and knowing what you want and discovering your personality and your comfort level in various situations can be a challenge. So you may not have all those answers. But the point is, if you don't get a focus on what it is you want, you will simply just get older not knowing what you want. If you don't know what you want, there are other people out there who know what they want and will use you to get what they want. Not all bad people, not at all. Some people are just wired or been taught, or they've come from a different place, and they're moving forward, and they know how to accomplish, and they know how to chase success, and they know how to amass success and all of that. And sometimes using people is the way to get it. I'm not advocating that. I'm saying watch out that you don't get to be the used person. Because when you're not clear about what you want in life, it's easy for people to use you to their ends. They get what they want and you get what's left over. If you don't know exactly what kind of car you want, this is real simple. You know what kind of car you want? You go to the dealer and they are paid to sell you a car. And they don't care what kind of car you get. They're not concerned about matching you and your concern you with the right car. Their job is to sell you a car. They sell you the car based on the dealership that they work for. Okay, that don't work. Maybe we got some trade-ins in the back. We'll see if that works for you. If you walk in not knowing what you want, you'll walk out with what somebody else wanted you to have. And the money's in their pocket. And you can apply that to any number of different scenarios. So if you don't know what you want, you put yourself in a position to be used by someone else. You can't get what you want if you don't know what it is, okay? If somebody else is using you and what you want is not, if you're not comfortable and confident enough to stand up for what you want, then you will be a pawn in somebody else's game. If you show uncertainty, somebody's going to swoop right in and take your life away from you. I'm not talking about killing you and shooting you down and none of that stuff. I'm saying that if you are not clear about your life, somebody will take your life away from you, and you will be a part of making their life. Then things just don't happen. They just don't fall into your world. They come because you draw it. Some people have stuff in their life and say, I don't even know how this happened. How did I get into this mess? It comes like that. You get into a mess because you ain't paying attention. because you're not being intentional. And we're not intentional because we don't know what we want to be intentional about. You get up in the morning, brush your teeth, hook yourself up, however you're going to do it, and you go to work without a plan. What happens? You go by rote. You do your job. You're sincere about your job. You do it honorably. So there's no time to think about you. You got to think about what you're doing. Then by the end of the day, you got to do things for other people. When do you take time to find out what you like? If blue was your favorite color when you were little, is that still your favorite color? It may be, and that's okay. But did you ever ask yourself that? What is the style that you like? Do you think about you? You must do that. You must do that. One thing I love about the millennial generation is that they ain't tied to nothing. And that's somebody would say, oh, well, that's a terrible thing. No, that's a good thing. In my parents' time and before, you get a job, you stay on it for 40 years, and you retire. And in those 40 years, you take whatever little raises they gave you and whatever promotions you could get. But for the most part, they were just glad to have the job, and then they retired. Then my generation comes along, and we decide what we want to be, and we'll decide to change careers midstream with a great deal of anguish and trepidation and thought and prayer and discussion with people. Listen, this is your life. You want to change careers, you can change it. That's what I love about millennials. They are not stuck with what other people say and do. They say, look, I don't like this, I'm not doing it. I don't like 9 to 5, I'm making up my own job. It's living without a fear. And even when they don't know what they want, they're not afraid to go find it. They're not afraid to explore life and discover what life is about. My generation, and this is important, this is right on point in this subject, looking at millennial behavior and thinking not the security isn't there and the definiteness is not there. But you know what? It is there, because what we tend to hold on to may feel like security. And if you're not happy and you're sitting around not having the life that you want, what good is that? Life is about this long. This long. We got to do what makes us happy. We got to find happiness and joy in this life. Come out, break out of those old ways of thinking and ask yourself, what do I want? Because until you identify what you want, how can you get it? You decide what you want. That causes us to stir the energy and the motivation to move forward. Now you got a prayer. Until you know what you want, you don't have a prayer. All this, God help me decide. God don't want to help you decide. This is your life. It's called free will. So if you have free will, nothing happens until you do something with it. Nothing happens until you make a decision. You make a decision or a choice, then you move forward in your life. But until then, it's just nothing. And then people wonder why they are not happy. So if you try this and it doesn't work, you can change. You don't have to stay with something. You don't like the job? Get another one. You don't like what you've been educated for? Go to school and try something else. That's why they have accelerated degrees. That's why they got night school online school, round the corner schools, all of however you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't have what you want, you have to decide.
Now, pause the video, read through these questions. These are the kinds of questions that help you clarify what you want and help you identify the attribute of God that you need in the moment. Take your time when doing this step because this will bring you into what I call divine alignment and position you for what Florence Scovel Shinn calls the next divine right step. We've all heard the term, there's no free lunch. Nothing's free. No big deal. It's the same with everything. When you want something you want to change in your life, it's going to cost you a little something. Consider this quote by Ernest Holmes. Keep the mind and body open to the reception of truth. That's really all it's going to cost you to make any change in your life. An open mind. An open mind to receive what's necessary, and of course, the willingness to do it. Don Miguel Ruiz, in his book, The Four Agreements, talks about domestication. We can also use the words socialization or indoctrination. It means the same thing. When we arrive in this life, the indoctrination process begins immediately. We're told what to think, how to feel, how to believe in terms of religion and politics and everything else. There are built-in rewards and punishments embedded into the system of indoctrination. For many to entertain the notion of seriously changing and rejecting the status quo in any respect is simply not going to happen. To take on such a mental challenge is what Ernest Holmes was referring to here, an open mind. Even free will has a cost. So, for example, if your orientation is that of traditional Western religious beliefs, the cost of exercising free will is the courage to do it. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But you'd be amazed at the millions who lack the courage to even consider such a thought. So, let's go back to our bridge. Since nothing is free, what's it going to cost me to cross this bridge? Ernest Holmes says, an open mind and receptivity to the truth. Now that's an interesting challenge. One may assume they know the truth or they're comfortable with the truth they have acknowledged as truth. Or one may feel, I don't know what is true, but I know there's more to it than this. To go further, we must have an open mind. The first step in having an open mind is to set aside the yeah buts. As you cross this bridge, you'll be tempted to pull the yeah buts out of your mental pocket response. Yeah buts have no spiritual currency on this bridge, so just throw them away.